So we got a big weekend ahead in the MLS. Week 27. Week 27 is going down. Week 27 is going to be more interesting than week 26. For me, week 26 was kind of boring. Week 27 is not going to be boring. Like last week, the really most interesting game for me was the Seattle LA Galaxy game. But this week right here is a lot of top teams that's above the playoff line that's going head to head against each other. We got LAFC Austin on Friday. We got Dallas taking on Salt Lake. New York Red Bulls, Miami, Philly, Colorado, Cincy, Columbus, Vancouver, Nashville. And on Sunday, we got Orlando, NYCFC. So there's a lot of games to be watching this week in week 27. And suppose you are the person that hasn't been watching any MLS this entire spring, this entire summer. Maybe you're the person that's been traveling around the world, going on numerous vacations and business trips. Maybe you're a person that's been doing the summer school and college, so you've been focused on that. Maybe you're a person who just graduated from college and you're starting your new job. Maybe you're a person that's been doing internships. Whatever the case, whatever the reason or whatever the case has been for you this summer. Or maybe you're just a person that never really was into the MLS, but because of all these huge signings by LAFC and the Cucho Hernandez signing by Columbus, maybe you're now kind of intrigued about the MLS and you want to know what it's about. Well, let me tell you something right here. This is the week for you to start paying attention to the MLS. If you haven't been watching this league their entire season, now is the time. This week, week 27, this is the time for you to start watching. And it starts this Friday. Friday Night Lights, LAFC versus Austin. Now this right here is a potential playoff preview. You got the top seeds in the West. And the good thing about this is another Texas versus Cali matchup. And if you're the MLS, this is what you want. Every year, you always want Texas, Cali to be at the top. This is going to help your brand. These teams are going to help promote your brand and help people become more familiarized with you as a league. As a matter of fact, MLS, every year you have your 3 Cali boys in LAFC, LA Galaxy, San Jose, your 3 Texas boys in Austin, Dallas, Houston, and your 3 Cascadia boys in Seattle, Portland, Vancouver. Those teams should be at the top every year, at least for the rest of this decade. That's all you need right there for the West. That's the top 9 seeds right there. You got your 3 Cali boys. You got your 3 Texas boys. Then you got your 3 Cascadia boys, the Great Northwest boys. That's the top 9 seed right there. You got a big state in Cali, a big state in Texas. And the good thing about that is all the teams in those states are playing within the same conference. So every year, for here on out, in the Western Conference, there should always be a big battle royale between the Cali boys and the Texas boys. As a matter of fact, if this is possible, maybe we can create some kind of tournament similar to how the Northwest boys got the Cascadia Cup. Maybe the 3 Cali boys and the 3 Texas boys can create their own type of rivalry cup. What if there's some type of in-season tournament between those 6 teams. I'm just throwing some ideas out there. Because the MLS, now in the 2020 decade, you have so many pieces to work with where you can be proactive. You have more pieces, more toys to play with in this decade than you ever had before. So this is good for you. So from this season on, we need to see the 3 Cali boys and the 3 Texas boys to be the face of the Western Conference. Of course, along with Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver. I'm not sure if Vancouver is a huge draw, but in terms of value, Vancouver is a top 10 club when it comes to market value. So because of that, there is also included in this conversation too. You got your Texas boys, your Cali boys, your Texas boys, your Cascadia boys. That's top 9 right there. All right, so let me get into LAFC Austin. Look, Austin, remember when I told you that you should treat this season, the rest of this season, as just preparation for the playoffs? That you shouldn't be striving for supporter shield. I said that like 1 or 2 weeks ago. I still stand by this comment. Because LAFC is loaded. They have way more depth than you. LAFC is the type of team that can play their B team and their C team. They can mix them together and play them for the rest of the season and still win the supporter shield. A lot of people are talking about Chiellini and Bell. But let's not forget the players that they already had before Chiellini and Bell arrived. Carlos Vela is not injury prone this season. The medical department for LAFC, they have stepped up big time this season. Ever since after the U.S. Open Cup, we haven't heard about a lot of injury concerns regarding Vela. So LAFC's medical department, that should be like the comeback team of the year when it comes to for that LAFC organization. They still got Kellen Acosta. They still got Max Crepeau. They still got Ryan Hollished. They have lost Mamadou Fall, but that team has more than enough depth to make up for it. Now, a lot of you European fanboys, you may be surprised that Chiellini and Bell haven't played much. When LAFC revealed to us last week that the 2 30-year-old Europeans they're on load management. That probably struck your heart. Like, how could these 2 great European players not be able to keep up with the speed in the MLS? Well, if you have been following me this whole summer, if you've been a subscriber this whole summer, you shouldn't be surprised about the 2 30-year-old Europeans being on load management. Because this is something that I told you. I told you they are saving these guys for the playoffs. You're not going to see these guys play much in the regular season. You're going to see them play more in the playoffs. That's what LAFC is saving them for. These guys, they're in their 30s. They're not young and energetic like they were in their 20s. The MLS is not some type of breeze where just because you play in the Big 5 Euros and you can come over here and it's just a cakewalk. See, a lot of you European fanboys, when y'all think about the MLS, y'all still think about the days of the 90s and the early 2000s where it was a retirement league and anybody can from any European league can just come over here and just put on a show. A lot of you European fanboys were fooled by what you saw during the European American preseason matches where the European clubs were on a American preseason tour And the European teams, they're just playing mostly MLS Next and MLS Next Pro players. They weren't playing against a lot of major MLS starters. But y'all use those meaningless preseason games to I guess validate your ignorant or your stubborn belief that the Big 5 Euros is the gap between the Big 5 Euros and the MLS is still extremely wide. So when you hear about Bell and Chiellini being on load management, you're surprised. Look, European fanboys, there's nothing wrong with Bell and Chiellini. They just have old legs, and their old legs cannot keep up with the speed of the MLS's young legs throughout the whole course of a season. But let me tell you an LAFC guy that I'm really looking forward to, and I hope he is playing this Friday. And his name is Danny Trejo. You know, when the Vela contract situation was going on a couple months ago, and it was rumored that he may leave to Liga MX or the Big 5 Euros if he didn't get the contract he was looking for from LAFC. Now, I wasn't worried because I knew that LAFC had a guy in their farm system back in Las Vegas that was ready to take over if Vela was going to leave. And that's Danny Trejo. Now, I don't know if he and Vela plays the same positions because, to be honest with you, when it comes to soccer, I do not pay much attention to positions. And I hope the game evolves to a point where we can have positionless players, where we'll be able to just see the top players playing on the field at the same time instead of them being limited due to positions. Anyhow, Danny Trejo, he's young, he's energetic, and I never watched Vela. I don't know how Vela played when he was in his 20s. Trejo might be a young Vela. He might be the guy that takes over as captain of the team whenever Vela's contract is up sometime in 2023. Remember that game earlier this season against the Seattle Sounders? And as soon as Trejo got in the game, he had a key assist that helped the team score against the Sounders. I'm looking to see what Trejo can do this Friday if he plays. And I hope that he plays, whether he starts or whether he comes off the bench. I just want to see what Trejo can do. I'm not expecting to see Bell. I'm not expecting to see Chiellini because those guys are being saved for the playoffs. Because for LAFC, not only do they want to win Supporter Shield, but they have goals for MLS Cup Championship, Campeones Cup title, CONCACAF Champions League title, FIFA Club World Cup title. That's the kind of aspirations they have. So they're saving those guys for the playoffs. Now let me tell you another guy. Now we all need to enjoy his presence, whether you're a MLS fan or MLS spectator. And his name is Sebastian Drusi. Listen, Sebastian Drusi is getting ready to be the next big name that the European Big Five, the Euro Big Five, is going to be scouting. If we don't start hearing word about Sebastian Drusi being recruited by Manchester or Real Madrid or Juventus or Arsenal or Chelsea next year, we are definitely going to hear those reports will definitely start developing in 2024. Sometime between now and the 2026 World Cup, Sebastian Drusi is going to be a serious candidate, not only to play in the Big Five Euros, but to play for a major team in Europe among the Big Five. So let us all enjoy the presence and the play of Sebastian Drusi while he's here, while he's in the States. Because this guy, he is too good to be ignored. And there's going to come a time where you Austin fans are going to have a farewell watch party for Sebastian Drusi. Because at the rate that he's going, he is positioning himself to not only be an American soccer star, but to be a global football icon.